Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like to welcome you all to the Black Buffalo Convention, the third annual Black Buffalo Convention. This is now 2023. I am Blyden, president of UNIA ACL, Montgomery Boroughs Division, number 433. And we are here presenting the Black Buffalo Convention in the lines of the National Negro Conventions. So back as far as 1843, here in Buffalo, people may know about the Frederick Douglass speech when he comes to Buffalo and he gave a speech here. People also have heard about Henry Highland Garnett coming to Buffalo to speak about what they called the call to rebellion. It wasn't necessarily a call to rebellion, or in that sense. What it was actually a call for liberation. In his speech, he said, "Give me liberty or give me death," more times than the person who was credited with that phrase. So we talk about the National Negro Convention because it happened here in Buffalo. It was just one event here, but it was going around the country. They just chose to be here in 1843 at that particular. What happened was Frederick Douglass and Henry Garnett were actually in a bit of a debate whether or not black folks should rise up and liberate themselves from slavery or wait for liberation to be given to them. Henry Highland Garnett gave a speech. He had the majority of the crowd and the participants on his side. Frederick Douglass gave his speech, which then quashed the vote. And when it was time for the vote, Frederick Douglass went out, and we ended up waiting, and we see where we are today. I look at that model of the National Negro Convention and say we should be following the same thing to this day. There's no reason it should have stopped back in the 1800s just because emancipation supposedly came. We know that when Lincoln did do the Emancipation Proclamation, he said that he would still keep slavery if he could. You know what I mean? And that lets you know that it wasn't ever about freeing slaves or liberating or emancipating anybody. It was actually just to benefit the country and the war effort. So we never should have stopped the conventions, and my proposal is that we continue them. So today's event is for the purpose of us coming together, proposing solutions to what we see as issues, voting on them as a convention, and then enacting what we deem as a proper solution. We have precedent for this throughout history. Here in Buffalo, specifically here on Jefferson, that's how Black Jefferson was born back in the day. We talk about the Black Development Association. We talk about all those different organizations that came together to pool resources, pool money, and pool ideas to create what we had as Black Buffalo back in the day, which we see now is no longer. We see a lot of folks got complaints about gentrification, foreigners moving in. We have a lot of complaints about current politicians not doing what they're supposed to do. We have complaints about things that people in general haven't been done, but there's no suggestion or on solutions. So we tried to formalize a system where people can suggest solutions, and we can, rather than sit back and point fingers and complain after it's done, be like, yo, I had a part in creating this solution, and we did that. When you see something built over there, we did that. When the Black Bank is created, we did that. When the Black-owned hospital is created, we did that. Okay, when the Black-owned school is successful, we did that. And so the thing is a collective. A lot of times we talk about we, they, and all this other business, but we just had a conversation in the hallway. Who is we? Who is us? And if we don't make a claim and state who us is from the beginning, we can't wait till after something happened and then retroactively be like, that was us. So, real quick before we really get into the other part, I just want to say a quick thank you and shout out to the African Conscious Workshop, Buffalo RBG, for supporting and being a co-sponsor here. We wanted to give a shout out to CNR Housing, Mother Ellen Sharif, who is also a co-sponsor. We want to make sure everybody knows that that's a Black-owned company. She owns the old Iroquois Brewery. She's trying to do major things with that building, and she needs community support. So when we talk about the Black community, we should be able to look out and see the Black community. To this day, you can't find it. If I was to ask you, where is the Black community? Even before the gentrification issue came up, we so divided amongst ourselves, we can't even find a community. Our block clubs are virtually invisible.
Non-existent.
Right? Part of the reason is because our people don't own homes anymore. Right? So a lot of our people are coming in, as renters and tenants with no concern for the street that they live on. So when the street deteriorates, they don't have any concern for it, they leave. So now what? Who's left? Well, somebody's gonna come over and take over and do for it. If you don't build for yourselves, someone else will build for you. It's that simple. And that's been what's been happening my whole life, and I'm 46 years. I've been watching it happen the whole time. One other thing, there's the People Senate is going on, the Buffalo Forum, spiritofmandela.org. You can check them out. So, let me give you a couple of examples of how the proposal works. Normally in convention, there's a proposal committee that takes in all the proposals and decides which proposals will be presented on the floor. We don't really have that situation here. So basically everybody's proposals don't get proposed. Everybody's gonna get a chance to say what they wanted to say. Just like the National Legal Convention, you also get a chance to have a spirited debate. We're not talking about an argument. What we're talking about is saying, this list here is the reasons why A, B, and C should happen. And this list is why they should not. And it should be a cool, calm, and collected conversation. It should not be an argument or a fight, because we're all in it for the same goal. If we're all in it for the same goal. Check? So, problem solving. This is a simple diagram here, but it lets you know in several, 5 easy steps. You define the problem, you brainstorm solutions, you pick a solution, you implement the solution, and you review the results. You go through this in work every day, right? That's where I got this from, employment training handbook. So we know the procedure, but we're never doing it as a people. I'm watching all these award ceremonies. I'm watching all these different events happen where everybody's all happy and we got entertainment down. But when it comes down to solutions for the problems that's happening to our people specifically, nobody's talking about it. When we bring up race first, it's always an argument. Well, we can't be race first, we gotta be this first, or we gotta be that first. Or we can't, it's not about race. But when somebody black falls victim to an issue, then it's always racist. How can you say that it's racist if you wasn't about race before it happened? Remember when you were little, you weren't even thinking about that till I was thinking about it. Remember that? I was gonna give you some, but you were, right? This childlike mentality. These adults out here killing us, literally. Literally. I keep seeing all these complaints and whining about people talking about what the Arab Association or the Bangladeshis or the Indians that are coming to the city are doing. The question isn't what they're doing. The question is, what are you doing? When they come here and live 20 people to a house until they can all afford a separate house, how are you mad at them for that? How you got any feeling towards that when you would not do the same? You would not make the same sacrifice. They are collectively making a sacrifice to gain benefit for their people. We sit back, watch, point, and laugh, and make excuses. When it comes time for a store, there's several, Betty Jean Grant owned a store. There's several black-owned stores in the city, right? Why aren't we supporting that to the point where they're blowing up? I'm living right there where I can see on Utica and Fillmore, that supermarket, the day it opened, it was packed. And swamped every single day, every single week. They're swamped. Why? Because they're making sure they're supporting their own. They have created a thing, they have built it, they are maintaining and protecting it by their organization and a relationship with the police. Right? We know the police circle there, make sure that they're fine. Why? Because that's a straight money connection. They're making money for the city. Where is our contribution to that? Right? So it comes to, we have to be creating, first we must sacrifice. Nobody wants to do that. People don't want to come into a thing unless they're going to gain some sort of immediate benefit from it. You don't want to join this because you're not getting paid. You're not going to do this because you're not getting paid. You're not doing this because you're not eating. Like, listen. These other people around the world, specifically here in Buffalo, starved for months before they gain a benefit. Starving literally and metaphorically. So we have to be able to make sacrifice for each other and for our own. One of the proposals that I had, as far as listing the problem, and y'all got the blank proposals, right? Is what is the mechanism for black-owned businesses to give back to the community? Now, we all go to black-owned businesses, right? We've been there. You a black-owned business, right?
Yes, sir.
If I sacrifice from my own money to enrich a black-owned business, what is the mechanism for that black-owned business to then reciprocate that to me as a public? I'm sorry?
Should be doing something for the community.
Something, right? So we got all types of black-owned businesses around the city. We have restaurants specifically, right? We got all types of other things, right? And if every time we do support something, we support the black-owned business, how is that coming back to benefit us as individual black citizens? We know that, actually, let me just read through the proposal. So, description of the issue. Black-owned businesses should actively engage and invest in enhancing the community's well-being. Through these efforts, they contribute to social and economic upliftment while fostering a sense of unity and pride. Now, the key to that sentence is fostering a sense of unity and pride. Remember we was talking about the hair issue earlier, where what you're doing has to instill pride in black business. If when we go into black business, we get rude treatment or subpar service, that's not pride. And now I'm just supporting you because you're black. Where's the reciprocation? Black-owned businesses can, and this is the proposed solution. Black-owned businesses can give back to the community through various mechanisms. They can create job opportunities for locals, empowering economic stability, offering mentorship and training programs, fostering entrepreneurship and skill development in the black community, supporting local issues, causes, through donations or in-kind contributions. How much trouble have you been having trying to get in-kind contributions from black-owned businesses? This is a Marcus Garvey event the resident is trying to put together, and we talking to black businesses who will absolutely have the red, black, and green on their flyers and on their insignias and everything. When he comes to them and asks them for a donation or in-kind donation, it's a problem.
It's almost always an excuse.
But if we can find we can find them out at other events. Supporting those.
That's right.
Something that don't foster no unity and pride, just entertainment.
That's right.
And that's the issue. When we have a thing that's supposed to be for unity and pride, and we choose the entertainment over that,
that's right.
How can the unity and pride event grow to the level of the entertainment that you wanted if we make the sacrifice ahead of time? This is what has to happen with these black-owned businesses. Notice a lot of them is super upscale all of a sudden, right? Which makes me beg the question. Now, when I say upscale, I mean prices is exorbitant, right? And they say, oh, pay what you're worth or know your worth, right? And charge what you're worth. That's cool. But the question now is, are you doing that to instill unity and pride in your black community? Or are you creating your prices to cater to the incoming gentrifiers? And when you ask that question, they stutter every time.
Right.
Because the reality of it is, although you want to have an upscale, nice establishment, the reality of it is you want those white dollars that's coming in from the gentrifiers. You want to see what happened when the medical corridor exploded. You wanted to make sure you got some of those dollars. When there was I don't see the principle where it's like, yo, we can't support certain things if it's not built in the black community first. Okay, so that is one example of a proposal. Basically, I have there's like a list of 10 different things that can be done for a black business. You know what I mean? And this is just an example. I'm not actually proposing this right now, but an example of the solution. There's like 12 different solutions here. Entrepreneurships, throwing events. That's something that you don't see from a lot of black businesses, right? You don't see them creating an event and saying that, hey, this is a black event for the purpose of uplifting and benefit black people. When you see the thing, and they always, diversity is wonderful, but the reality of it is everybody, once they leave a diverse thing, can go back to a race-first thing. When they go home, they talk about the old country. When they go home, they talk to the family about their family heirlooms. We get stuck at the 1800 wall.
Right.
There's a thing that unites us all, if nothing else, and it is race. When we see the opposition to our race killing us in the streets, They don't stop to ask us certain questions about what you believe in and things like that. It's about your race. So the only way to stop those things is to defend based on race. And the solution can't always be voting and protesting. Voting and protesting is, like Dr. Clark said, a tool, a mechanism that was used, right? But at this point, there's nobody's responding to that. The only time you see somebody respond to a protest is if the numbers are so big, they got to do something.
By calling the police.
Right. And if that's the case, and you recognize that's the case, all we need is numbers of black folks to gain the benefit that we need. Now, the moment you have that realization, you know that you are a liar. Because you're and not unifying with race first, right? Because of any other reason, when I see you out there for that year-long protest or any of them other ones, if you can do that, that means you understand that there's a benefit in numbers. And you understand that if we come together in numbers as a race, we will gain the benefits. And the benefits you gain as an individual selling us out all these years would be gone.
That's right.
Would be gone. Sorry, went off on a tangent. Okay, so another example of a proposal. This one we're going to enact again. Anybody who hears this and has any information that they want to share to me, you can share it to blackbuffaloconvention@gmail.com. So, the political report card. In 2018, we did a political report card. We get the model from the NRA. What they do is they grade different politicians based on their voting rights on gun issues. Okay? So now, if you get an A grade, of course, everybody's gonna vote for you. If you get a D grade or an F grade, that means you're not supporting the gun rights issue, so they're not gonna vote for you. So, I'm looking at that model. Okay, anytime black candidates go to run, period, all candidates, but throughout Black Buffalo, we should have our own grading system where we say, what is this candidate's record on Black Buffalo? What have they done for black folks? Wherever they come from. Some of them may not have been a politician. Some of them may have been in, activism or things like that. Okay, fine. What is their record? And based on that record, we give them a grade. We publish the grade in Challenger, over here at, public access, right? We publish the grade, everybody see the grade. Now we can all see and we can move based on the grade that we all decided on, right? And the grades will come based on criteria. So have they spoken out against this? Have you seen them publicly against this? Have you seen them publicly for this? And based on that, we give them a grade. And if their grade is too low, they don't deserve to get black people's vote, right? Now, obviously, we know people go in to vote, individually and secretly. It's your own thing, right? But we can't all be in a place like this, 300, 400 deep, right? And then, we don't get 300, 400 votes based on what we talked about. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we eventually be holding each other accountable, right? So the goal with the political report card is to create a better system in politics for us. Now, I personally don't necessarily see a whole lot coming from politics, but if we're gonna put any stock in politics at all, we have to have our own system holding them accountable. We can't just be screaming and hollering like, oh, they did us wrong, and then we're gonna wait another 2 years to try and vote them out, and then they get voted in again, and now we're just screaming and hollering and mad another 2 years.
That's right.
Right? Same thing happened, but everybody's supposed to be mad at Biden, right?
Right.
Okay. He been in office 37 years. You know what I'm saying? So, okay. So that whole time that you mad at whatever, where was the things in between there? And it gives you the reason I don't think there's been any action is because it gives you an excuse. You can kick the can another 4 years. Right. You can say, man, we're gonna see what he does this time. We're gonna see. Or we ran our candidate lost, so now we're just gonna wait till the next one. But what happens in the middle of them 4 years or 2 years in those elections where we're doing literally nothing? Literally nothing. And that brings me to my next and probably last point. There's been a trope, a stereotype about black folks for years, that black people are lazy. And the answer is always, oh, we're not lazy, we built this country. Or look at us on the workplace, we do all of this and da-da-da-da. They're not talking about you being lazy individually. They're talking about us being lazy as a race. Because every other race, just like Gary said, has done the things necessary to make it so they don't have to complain about other races. You don't hear the Chinese people complaining about white folks. You don't hear white folks complaining about just anybody. You know what I'm saying? But here you got black folks, every single, oh, the Arabs, oh, they always trying to oppress us in our own community. Oh, the Chinese people, they doing it. Oh, the white folks, they doing it. Bro, what are we doing? And when all of those different groups get together and look at us, the answer is nothing. The answer is entertainment. The answer is playing. And like Smokey, Ice-T said to Smokey on Friday, you the only one out here playing. Everybody else dead serious.
That's right.
We the only one out here skipping up and down the street playing. Look at our music. Look at our music. We don't got to say too much more about that. Just look at our music right now. What will our young people right now, what will their classic music be? The one, I don't even want to say it, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? The one girl that's out here right now, come on, bro.
Right.
And it's like, we are literally the only ones out here that's just condoning it. Everybody's fine with it. We bang it, and it's okay. And that's lazy. That's lazy. And if I can see that, what do you think the opposition to our race is thinking? There's no way that these people care about their race for real. That's why when them folks was out there saying Black Lives Matter, they said, oh, really? Well, if they matter, why don't y'all stop killing each other? Right? So now, folks like us got to go out there and say, hey, it's black organizations that's out there trying to get black people to stop killing each other every single day. Right? But the opposition is so bad. We so divided amongst those organizations that the babies is really just emulating us while we trying to pretend like we're doing something for them. So we have to get serious about what our end game is. Remember we were talking about the end game. What is the end goal? And the end goal is for us, like Gary said, it is for us to be able to meet the other races of the planet at the world table.
That's right.
It's that simple. It ain't no world domination. It ain't no black domination or black supremacy, none of that. It's so we can easily and consistently meet the other races of the planet at the world table, on a world stage, with the same backing that they have. We got more, if you look at how many black people is on the planet compared to we are not a minority. Dr. Clark said we're world people.
That's right.
If we come together and realize, a lot of things will just stop that day.
That's right.
I make that statement all the time, like we could do it overnight. And I stole that from Dr. Clark.
Yeah, he says, if we all decided to stomp our feet and yell boo at 3 o'clock, we could shake up the world.
Dude, people always say, and my version of that is people always say, hey man, when I get a chance to sit down and talk to you, we're gonna have to sit down and talk. Right?
Yeah.
And I hate that because we're sitting down at the time they say, like, bro, we can talk right now.
Right.
But take that same thing. Imagine if all black people on the planet sat down at the same time. That's actual seismic activity. We would literally shake the world.
That's right.
But we so busy trying to pretend that we don't know who black folks are. Who are we? Who is us?
That's right.
You feel me? She's a us for sure. You feel me? Welcome, sister. Okay? So, we're going to open up for discussion. Stop that. We're going to open up for discussion for a moment.